like you said, which then leads me to what you and I are talking about, because there's me talking about all this time, and you and I are going to start a second podcast with a name that you came up with, Crossing Borders.
Crossing Borders, yeah. So, yeah, but because the reason was because of the conversation we were having, because you have been encouraging me to do a podcast, and I've been doubtful, not sure, and you've been, very supportive. So I was talking to you about, having a podcast about having conversation with people who have come from. Who have traveled to England from all over, from different countries, people in diaspora, how they are managing, how they found it, all that kind of stuff. So we were talking about that, but because of our previous experiences of the young people we've worked with, the young people we've supported, we've worked with, we then thought of, there are things that are common here. Most young people, this generation, are facing difficulties, very different types of difficulties. But it doesn't matter which part of the continent they belong. It seems these difficulties are more or less the same. There might be cultural differences, but facing challenges and dealing and getting solutions they're all more or less the same. Well, so that's what we were. That's what we were talking about.
That's an interesting point, because there's certain things that are cultural differences. There are a difference between our cultures, and like you when you came to visit me and you met my mum, and they were talking about the culture in Zimbabwe, the culture in England, and the culture in Ireland.
Ireland, yes,
especially from the time that my mum lived in Ireland in the 50s and the 60s. I don't know when my mum was born, but definitely she was there in the 60s, because she didn't come to the UK until the 70s. But so there were cultural differences, and there were also similarities, and good and bad. There were similarities, good and bad. But one of the things that's interesting, like when you and I were talk about things like mental health, advocating for young adults.
Yes.
There are cultural differences, yes, but biologically or cognitively, the way we think, it's the same.
Yeah.
The way we react,
it's same.
The way we react to stress, the way we react to breakups, the way we react to success. And you and I have often talked about when we see, predominantly our experiences with young men and our own experiences.
Yeah.
But when we see those people, there are common routines, habits, where that's how you're getting into trouble. That's how you're staying out of trouble. This is how you're self-sabotaging your life. Yeah. This is how you're doing well in your life. And yes, there's cultures, but in terms of humanity,
and in terms of biology also, the body develops the same. It doesn't matter which part of the body you are. Your body from a child to an adult develops the same at the same rate, with the same difficulties or same challenges. Exactly. And your mind also comes through stress. It might be different types of traumas, but it's coming through those traumas and dealing with it. And it doesn't respect, those things don't respect borders at all.
Fear is fear.
Cultures, yes. Fear is fear where you are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. A young child, a 5-year-old child, does not matter where it is in the world. If it's scared, it's scared. And if mum or dad, if mum or dad are there, reach out, grab a hug. I feel better. Doesn't matter what country you live in.
It does. And these are the things that we were talking about, and how we can, support young men and support and women, also young women. But as we are discussing that, we might have more understanding of young men, because that's what we've been now. We've been there.
Because once upon a time we were young men.
We didn't listen. We walked that road also, and we also talked about the positive men role models, men and women who have been in our lives. Also, we did, and it's sometimes a lack of it.
Well, because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
that's all right.
You and I have shared like personal experiences, and I talk about how, like, for reference for people, I had an okay upbringing. My mum's a great person. She did her best by us. She's a lovely
Mm.
lady. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad, and certainly he wasn't a positive influence in my life. As a result of that, um, I was quite a self-sabotaging person. I got into trouble with the law. I ended up bankrupt. All of these things, and it took me a long time to work out that process of what happened. And
Yeah.
you can kind of get too caught up in spirituality. Sometimes you can get too caught up in faith, but ultimately, I didn't have purpose and I didn't have a direction in my life.
Yeah.
But more importantly, is I didn't have anybody there as a senior male model
Mother. Yeah.
to explain to me it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
This is how you pick yourself up.
Yep.
These are your responsibilities as you become a young man. This is what you should be focused on. And instead, I had the term I used is I had my dad who was a firefighter, and I don't mean by as a job. I mean whatever fire you had burning inside you, he'd come along and piss on it. So that's why I refer to him as a firefighter, because he loved pissing on. He loved putting out anyone's fire.
Fire. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Different. Yeah.
what do you when you're a young man, you're a teenager,
Yeah.
you need that guidance of an
Yeah.
older man.
Yeah. Wise ahead. Wise ahead. Yeah. Yeah. And then as we have shared, as I say several times, and these are the things we're talking about. Similarities does not respect borders. My dad was not there when I was growing up. And so it doesn't matter whether you're in England or in Africa, wherever your dad is not there, it's not there. As bottom line. But the thing that I was lucky to have three very good uncles and their wives who took me under their wings. So yeah, that was the advantage I had. I had my uncle Timothy and his wife. He was great. He was great. He was a big man, huge man. He was a businessman. But he was the most humble person I've ever met. Very humble. When we talk about gentle giants, he was one of the. I don't even remember any day he ever raised his hand on me. No, not at all. Even though I was a little troublemaker back then, he must have maybe once or twice. But he was just humble. He taught me to give. You give not because you have, but you give because it's good to help other people. You've got the heart. And my uncle Moses was a giant, built like a ton of bricks. He was a builder, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
He was yeah. And he taught me hard work. He taught me hard work. And if I was out of line, no, he didn't hesitate. You give you back and back into line. And he always used to say to me, never judge anybody because you don't know the route they have traveled. So it's so easy to judge, but don't judge people you don't know. Because I remember at young age I'd said things and then without even understanding the context. And after giving me talking off, or probably a left hand, and then he will then explain things to me. And I've been appreciative of him and his wife also. And I had my uncle Amon, who I lived with. He took me when I was 10 until he passed away. So, and this one, he was a farmer. So he was a qualified agriculturist. That's where I get my love for farming from.
I see.
Yeah. So he went into college and did all that. He managed the different farms and that kind of stuff. And he always taught me hard work. Hard work. He made sure he emphasized on hard work. And when I've got wrong, he was quick to discipline me. He'll give you an example. If farm animals misbehave, you let them misbehave, they'll give you lots of problem in future. So if I let you misbehave now, in future you're gonna give me lots of problems, and not just me. You're gonna give everybody lots of problems.